Don't have anything in mind, no.
All right. What about you, Sherry? Got anything you want to cover and you want to ask?
Oh, that was me.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't even. All right. Well, perfect. Well, it's officially, I think the first quarter is over, and now we're into the second quarter. And I tell everyone, like, don't judge. Your first quarter should not be about lag measures, meaning like how many transactions you closed and that stuff. It should be more about lead measures, like how did your prospecting go? What's your pipeline look like? How many people have you talked to that said that they're going to think about selling or going to think about buying over the year 2026? And your second quarter is where you should start focusing on lag measures leading into the third quarter. So, not sure how everyone's business is going this year so far, but that would be my advice. Um, and again, I always go, find out what you love to do as far as prospecting, find out what you like to do as far as prospecting, and then ultimately find out what you're good at. And just focus on those three things. Like that's the way you're gonna make sure that you don't struggle out and or burn out. And it's Good Friday. It's a you had your best year. All right, tell us more if you could talk, Amy. Best first quarter ever. Usually
Um, I was just gonna say closed two in the quarter, and that's the most I've done in a quarter before. So um that's I if that's indicative of the rest of my year, that would be great.
That
So
is awesome. And where did the two deals come from?
let's see. Both of them were Sphere. Um so you know that's great, but one of them has used a different agent for all of her other transactions in the past, and a very well respected agent that I know, but she gave me this particular transaction, and then also wants me to help her with a foreclosure. So I mean, not that there's that much I can do to help her, right? But I'm gonna tag along to advise her and just go see what it's like. So, but I also had the disappointment of a very close friend who chose a different agent this quarter, and I mean, not like that's the first time it's ever happened, but it's just such a drag when someone in your sphere is not, someone that knows, loves, and trusts you doesn't choose you, and you know
Yeah.
especially, no, here's the thing: is 2 years ago she asked me to sell her house, and then when it came down to it, kind of stopped talking to me and went with someone else. So
Okay. So first, the SOI that did the opposite, she used someone else and ended up using you. Did you ask her why she ended up choosing you over the other agent?
I have not asked her that, and I probably is a good idea. I think she would share. So
Yeah. Yeah,
um
just and you could say it out of curiosity, hey, I know, you have some real estate deals in the past and you used another agent, and I was just wondering, like, what was it that either I did or that she did that you ended up deciding to use me this time around? Because I'm always trying to improve myself and I want to know, like, and she should be willing to share that. And then when you talk about the foreclosure, she's going to buy our foreclosure or she's in foreclosure.
no, she's going to buy one. There's
Buy.
one very close to where she lives that she wants to buy as a rental. And so she's asked my advice on it, and I've gathered some information for her, and I mean, it'll have to be a cash purchase, but I'm intrigued, and so we'll probably help her figure that out. So,
Now, did the house already get foreclosed on?
well, what's funny is it's once been in foreclosure before, scheduled for auction, and then it got uh, I can't think of the word now, but they saved it, if you will. And then now it's happened again after, just like 3 months, it's gone back into foreclosure. So,
So it
um,
hasn't been foreclosed on yet. So
no,
is it
it's like going
listed?
to auction next month.
Okay, so is it listed?
No.
Oh, then call the homeowner directly and tell them that you help people that are in foreclosure save themselves from going into foreclosure, find out how much money they're in the rears, and find out how much their interest rate is. And you could do
Okay.
something pretty creative with it. More than likely, do you know when they bought the home?
I could look it up. I don't at
Yeah.
the moment, but
Yeah, so I would look at what they bought the home for, how much they bought it for, what their rate is, what their payment is. Start discussing with them of like, okay, your credit's probably hurt right now, but it'll be even more damaged because right now you have lates on your credit that takes 2 years to recover from, but a foreclosure could take up to 7 years to recover from. So if we can save you from actually going through foreclosure, that might be the most advantageous thing that we can do. Um,
yeah.
and then just find out how much they're in the rears for, and yeah, and just tell them that you're there to help and to just see what's the best for them for them. Um,
Okay.
so that would be my advice on that one. And
And
then
I'm wondering, do a lot of people do that? Just like a lot of people call expired and FSBOs and whatever. Do a lot of people call foreclosure, owners in foreclosure? Have they been approached a
a lot
million
of
times?
in, investors probably call them and say, "Hey, or we see that your house is foreclosure, and we want to buy your house all cash." That probably happens, but I don't know if many people are calling them to try to see how they can help them and actually understand their situation. They might be a
Hmm.
little jaded, so I always give a call and just say, "Look, I'm not calling as an all cash investor. I'm not trying to steal your home from you. I help people in this situation, and we can kind of go into your situation. I can maybe see that they're, show you your options so you can choose what's the best for you. Um, and maybe it is just letting it go into auction and lose the home and have a foreclosure on your record and, maybe take up to 7 years to be able to buy again. But maybe there's a different option for you that you might want to look at. Um,
Okay.
so I
I
think just
mean,
coming from there, yeah,
even though my client is technically an all cash investor,
you're
but
not.
I'm not. And she also is not like a professional all cash investor. She doesn't own a bunch of properties. She doesn't flip properties.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, and ultimately, your buyer, if she didn't have to buy it all cash, wouldn't want to buy it all cash. Or she
mm,
shouldn't. She shouldn't want to buy it all
right.
cash. You should
Yeah.
never want to buy a house all cash. Then you're risking all your money instead of the bank's money. Um, Real estate, one of the, five top reasons to own real estate is because you can leverage it. So if you're buying it all cash, your money's stuck for at least 6 months, as well as then you're hedging and risking your stuff. So there's ways that like I bought a foreclosure, but I didn't actually technically purchase it through an auction. I just went to the owner and said, "Okay, what's your rate? Oh, you have a 3.75% rate. How much are in the rears? 35,000. Okay, what if I paid the $35,000 in the rears, gave you $10,000 to walk away? We keep the loan in place and put the house into a trust." Um, and now I was able to get the home for still a good price and keep that rate of 3.75. So there's creative ways you can do it. So I think that just understanding the situation would be the first thing. And then once you
Okay.
understand the situation, we can go over the options and stuff. Um, and they might be jaded. They might, their phone might be turned off. You might have to go and drop off like a little letter that just says, "Here, I'm not trying to steal your home. I want to make sure that you know all your options, and so you can self-discover which is the best for you." So that would be a thing I would do. And then
And when
to
you said put it in
oh
a
good.
trust, are you talking about a Delaware?
No,
No.
you would put it no, yeah, Delaware Statutory Trust would be if they were going to sell to try to eliminate capital gain taxes. And that's what they would buy. They would buy the Delaware Statutory Trust or into one. This is more of like put it into either like a land trust or put it into a living trust, and you just make the buyer the beneficiary of it as long as X, Y, and Z happens. Um, so it's called subject to financing is and creative financing. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So do they
Um,
continue to live there as renters or
no, no, they
no?
you always remove them from the home.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, when someone goes into foreclosure, and a couple times they there is a issue in their lives that you don't want to take on. You're just trying to help them move on the best, most advantageous way possible,
Gotcha.
which is for them is not going into not getting foreclosed on. So being in foreclosure is still not as bad as going to actually being foreclosed on.
Right.
Yeah. And then you know, I do know that it's disheartening when someone in your sphere uses somebody else. But again, I always, when that happens, I always call and ask and say, hey, I see that you use somebody else and I can totally respect it. Can you just help me understand why is it that you chose somebody else? And
And I
sometimes
did
it
reach
could,
out to her,
yeah.
and she told me. So
What she say?
she said that her husband is very private and doesn't want friends to be involved in business and in their finances. But of course, also the agent that's helping them buy in the place they're moving to, recommended somebody. And I wanted to say, well, of course she did, because she gets 25% or more. Why wouldn't she convince you that doing business with your friend is a bad idea, or convince you that she knows somebody who has more experience and therefore could do a better job, and better job than your friend could. I Yeah. So I know that that was part of what, and I don't know her husband hardly at all. So, he can just dictate. And anyway, I mean, he's not an unpleasant or demanding person, but anyway, um,
Yeah, and you know, and it happens. And
yeah.
all we can do is, I always tell people, you don't really want her business because her business is going to happen every 7 to 10 years. What you
Well, and
want
probably
is
not
her,
even that, because she's leaving the state. So,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
the other thing
and
is, yeah,
but
how much information does she think I'm going to get about her? And we're not going to stay in touch that much if she's in another state. So,
well,
anyway.
so this is where I would go the other way around is there's no reason why you wouldn't want to stay in touch with her if she left the state because people generally, when one of their friends or family leaves, someone follows or someone goes, hey, you know what? And now you can stay in touch with them. Because again, what I was going to is you don't really want her business because she's only going to do business every 7 to 10 years. But in over the next 7, 10 years, she's going to know 35 to 70 people that are going to buy, sell, invest in real estate. And if you just drop her because she didn't use you, you're not going to be able to get one of those referrals to come your way. Instead, learn from it. Learn that we have to make relationships with not only the one side, but usually the other side as well. I've lost deals where I was really good friends that the husband was said, hey, I want to use you. And it comes out the wife wanted to use somebody else because it was her friend or her cousin or that, you know, they really needed the help or they really needed the business. So I actually lost business to someone that was least a lot less experienced than me because they needed to give them a deal and I didn't need an extra deal. Um, so it happens, but again, I don't stop calling them. If they're in my core, if they're part of my, you know, my core of my sphere, I keep providing value to them because what's going to happen is they're going to sell their home with the agent that they chose, and that person's never going to call them again and then they're going to buy a home with the agent up, you know, out in the area, and that person's probably never going to call them again. And yet, the person that they didn't choose is going to call them on the 3rd year anniversary and say, "Hey, I wanted to celebrate your 3rd year anniversary. one of the things that I always make sure my clients do on the third year is make sure they do another termite inspection and another sewer inspection. Did you do those when you bought the home? Oh, you didn't. You didn't do a sewer inspection? Yeah, even on a brand new construction, you should do one because you never know what's lurking underneath. And you always want to make sure shit keeps rolling downhill. Um, because if it starts piling up, it could be a 16 to $20,000 deal. I can find a sewer inspector that'll do it for, a really good price. About a couple $100 to save 16 to 20,000. Do you want my help on this? Now you're doing something that their buyer's agent hasn't done. You're doing something they're selling it. You haven't earned a commission yet. But what you're trying to show them is you're an expert. You don't get emotional about this business, and that you are so good that they next time they think about selling real estate, or they think about someone comes to them thinking about selling real estate, they're going to think about you, or thinking about buying, they're going to think about you. So, um, but that's what I would you know I would recommend. Um, Again, this is a relationship business, and the more relationships you maintain, I had clients move to Arizona, I still call them every single month. Why? Because they have kids that still live in California. They have family that still lives in California. They live in the same neighborhood as me. They've lived in there for about 20 years. They know all the people. So the more I keep in touch with them, they might end up getting a phone call saying, "Hey, that realtor that helped sell your home, do you think you can introduce me?" If it just happens one time out of every 5 years, I will do 20, 30 transactions just with my core 100. I have a core 336, so I'll end up doing 60 to 70 transactions just from that happening once every 5 years. So I would go along that way. I had one where I literally showed them homes. They stopped looking. They said they were going to buy over the summer, and I was, didn't stay in touch with them as much as I should have, because figuring, hey, they'll pull me in the summer. And all of a sudden I look on Facebook and it's like, oh yeah, we're a brand new homeowner. It's our first home. Blah. And I called them and it was like, hey, and I was like, hey, I thought you were going to use me. Oh, sorry. My cousin had just gotten his license and I was kind of obligated. His aunt called me or his mom called me and said that I had to use him. And I was like, okay. And I did that exact thing. As I said, okay. And so on the year anniversary, I said, hey, happy year anniversary. That this usually happens, or some things are overlooked. And it ended up, he's referred me two different people over the last 3 years because his cousin never ever called him again after they did the transaction. They were best buds. They went golfing, they celebrated. But as soon as the transaction happened and the home warming party happened, they never ever called it again. So just don't be that, and look at your past clients, over however many you closed over the last couple of years, and make sure that you're not falling out of touch with them. There's always something to talk to a homeowner or a past client about, because ultimately, now that you've been paid, now they're your client. They weren't your client before they closed escrow. They were just a lead. They were a prospect. Now that they closed, they're your client. Treat them like such, because that client will become a partner and is a marketing partner. That person's going to help grow your business faster than anybody else will.
Okay.
Any, yeah, uh,
Thank you. And
yeah,
and
no worries.
luckily, when I sent a message back to her, I erased a few things. I expressed my feelings and then deleted them, right? And
Yes.
ended with just best wishes to you. Um, so, and I'll probably, check in and congratulate her when it sells, and all that kind of stuff. So,
I would
And
just like to add that I've
yeah,
had that happen, and then they end up not being happy with that other agent. When I respond and say, "Oh, well, I'm glad you picked your realtor of choice. I hope it works out for you. I'm always here should you need me." And then I follow it. And I've had several of them come back and just say, "Yeah, just this isn't working, and we're going to cancel. And will you help us?"
yeah, I agree. That's always a possibility.
yeah. and again, it's hard. And I was taught by my mentor, whenever you're going to send a text out in an emotional state, read it, let 24 hours go by, read it again, and then delete it and start over. Uh, and again, if you have the mentality in your heart, your brain goes, I don't even want their business. And I know it's really hard to say, but you don't want their business again, because it'll be very few and far between that you actually get their business. You want their referrals. So if that same situation, think about it, they know a friend who's going to sell, and they have an agent that's their good friend. And the husband all of a sudden says, I don't want to use someone that I know so closely to me. I don't want them to know my finances. And for whatever reason, they could owe very little, they could owe a lot on it. It doesn't matter. But now that person's to go, hey, you know what? You should talk to my friend Amy. She's great. I trust her. And, she might be a little bit more separated from your agent friend. So, and it happened. I mean, I'd say it happens more the other way around than it does that way around. Of according to NAR, 72% of business comes from people we know, our friends, our family, professionals that refer us, or referrals from the clients, friends and family, people that they know. So I think you're going to get a lot more business than you lose. But again, we it's not just that we have to be their friends; they have to look at us as a professional as well. And I think maybe that would be the learning thing that I would get from is that yes, maybe you and the wife were really good friends, but if you weren't showing the husband that you're a professional and that that you know what you're doing, and it's not about how many transactions you do, it's about the knowledge that you possess, it's about the level of service that you possess, and maybe being able to do things that other agents can't. So when you have a situation where a client reaches out to you and, hey, I want to look at this foreclosure, that's a great postable reel. Hey, I'm working with a client. We're looking for a foreclosure. We're going to buying a foreclosure. A lot of people don't understand about the difference about being in foreclosure and about actually being foreclosed on. Also, homeowners don't understand that even if you have an auction date set, up until the auction actually starts, the house can actually be saved from foreclosure. So I'm going to love to share with you guys everything that we're going through. And from time to time, I'll share with you. If you guys have any questions about buying a foreclosure or if you're in foreclosure, please let me know. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., I'll be on live and anyone can ask me any question they want. And now you have people going, oh, this person seems like they know what they're talking about. Now they're going to come and ask you a bunch of different questions. And if someone asks you a question you don't know, say, you know what? I don't want to misspeak. Even if you had no clue what they're talking about, I don't want to misspeak. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. I'm going to make sure I give you the 100% of the correct answer, and I'll make a reel about it tomorrow. You're giving yourself content to post. And you're separating yourself because most people don't understand about foreclosures. Most agents don't understand about foreclosures. And yet generally there's almost 1 million homes that go into foreclosure in some sort of process of foreclosure every single year. So there is a way to build business just off of foreclosures. And most first-time investors and I'd say most first-time investors, they think that going after foreclosures is, oh yeah, I'm going to buy one in foreclosure because my friend told me he bought one. He got a smoking deal in it. Okay. That can happen, but that's not the most common thing to happen. The most common thing to happen is to go into auction, go get cutthroated out by Russian and Chinese investors and now Indian investors out like foreigners, and they come and overpay for the home because they're not worried about getting the good deal. They're worried about putting their money into United States real estate. So can it happen? Yeah, but generally what happens is, again, they didn't buy a foreclosure house, one that's been foreclosed on. They are doing what you are going to do. You're going to call them before it gets foreclosed on, and you're going to help them buy it by coming up with an agreeable term with the buyer or with the seller.
So Cory, and when they do get foreclosed, can't they also the bank retained them, and then the bank lists with an agent. And in our experience here in Florida, um, many times, I've seen some banks go in and put some money into the house so that they can try to recoup their loss. Or if the home is in excellent condition, those steal of a deals aren't happening because they know that, depending on the market, that they can get close to market price and not have to deeply discount. Have
Yeah.
you found that in
Yeah.
California? I mean, and here in Florida, we have seen that.
Well, yeah, definitely, it depends on the situation. Again, it depends on how much they're in the rears, how much they owe. A bank will let it go into foreclose on it and auction it when there's no equity in the property. If there's a lot of equity in the property, they usually have an acquisitions team that will do exactly that. They'll come up, they'll do carpet and paint and try to get a little bit more money for it. Those banks usually have agents that they end up specially, working with and listing them. You take it at a discount commission, but you start doing one, then all of a sudden you're doing five and 10. And so that's when in California, we're so effed up as a state where I can buy a foreclosed house and the homeowner has 6 months to make the bank whole. And I actually have to give the house back to them. So,
Wow.
so
Wow.
not that it happens, all that often because obviously, but that is a stipulation in there. So I always tell
Mhm.
people when you buy a foreclosed house in California, it doesn't mean your house is yours. So don't start putting
Wow.
money into it. Wait the 6 month threshold because if somehow that person's, rich uncle dies and they get an inheritance and they want to buy it back, they only have to buy it back for what you bought it for. They
Hmm.
just have to go and make the bank whole.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Another thing that happens that people don't know about is when a house gets foreclosed on, and let's say they owed 400,000, the house gets foreclosed on, and in an auction they buy it for 500,000. That $100,000 is a surplus. The bank can take out fees and things like that, but there's still usually a surplus left over. The banks have to legally notify the homeowners. What they do is they send a letter to the address of the home where the person doesn't live there anymore. The buyer usually goes, "Oh, this isn't for me," and just throws it away. That money sits into that surplus. I think it's 2 years in most states. If it sits in there for more than 2 years, then the bank can take that money. But if you just notified the homeowner and say, "Hey, look, I don't know how much you owe on it, but if you end up choosing that the best option is just to let it get foreclosed on, it gets auctioned off, and they actually buy it for more money than you owe minus fees, that money's legally yours. So make sure the bank has your current information and mailing address and make sure the mail is being forwarded to you. Go to the post office, say any mail that goes to this house, forward it to me in my name because you might get a notification that you have 30,000, 40,000, or some of your equity that's yours. And it's legally
Interesting.
yours.
That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Is
Wow.
that in
I mean,
California only, or is that
no,
anywhere?
that's around the country. It's a law around the country.
Hmm.
Um, there's a people that make a living. It's called foreclosure surplus. Make a living just notifying homeowners that have been foreclosed on and saying, "Hey, I want to let you know that you got foreclosed," and it's all public information. Um, your house got foreclosed on. It looks like they actually owe you $36,000. If I go get this money for you, would you be willing to pay me 10, 20% to go do so? Homeowner, "Well, sure, whatever." Okay, all they do is just fill out a form, get it filled out, send the money, and they get paid 10 to 20% to get that money. So you can look it up. It's called foreclosure surplus. I'm not saying to switch careers and go after it, but if you have a young, eager adult child, or someone that you're like, hey, they want to go dial for dollars, or even a VA that you show, you can literally make lots of money just helping people get foreclosure surplus. So,
And it's always
yeah,
2 years that you have to wait.
it's some states, yeah, some states. I mean, I think for the most part, it's 2 years, but no. So you have 2 years to get that money.
Oh, okay.
If you wait
You
longer than
know,
two
like
years,
if
that
I
money
had a
goes.
friend and I saw that their home was, it was foreclosed and I saw that it sold for more, um,
Yeah, you
then
have up to
I
2 years
could,
to go get that money.
they have 2 years to go. Get it?
Yeah.
So
Um,
um, does that apply like when the bank forecloses and they retain the asset and they sell it for more?
yeah, anything. Well,
It's not like on the auction blocks, what I'm saying. If they decide not to just
that
auction it off,
yes.
then it's an
So
REO.
I'm not 100% positive on that one.
Mhm.
So let me do a little bit of research before I answer that question because I'm not sure if the banks actually buy it from them. So they foreclosed, they bought the asset if that difference counts. Um, when I'm not sure. I know it's for auctions, but I'm not sure if the bank actually retains it.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because we see a lot of REO. Well, we have in the past, back in the crash. We'd see a lot of REOs. But you dealt with, the bank. You didn't. Um, and then of course there was the whole thing of the short sales, which every bank
Yeah.
had their own
You know
process.
what? Let me ask my I call my chat Einstein. Let me
Uh,
see if Einstein will give me an
I call
answer.
him my boyfriend.
Um, if a bank forecloses on a property and retains property access, and then sells is the still load the surplus. It says in most cases, the homeowner is still owed any surplus. The lender
Oh,
forecloses, takes the properties, they sell it at auction or later as an REO after fixing up. The sale proceeds are applied in this order: loan balance, fees, legal cost repairs, junior liens, if any, and then the property owner um, gets what's called surplus funds.
but they have to ask for
They have to ask for it.
it.
Yep.
And do they go back to their original lender?
Yeah, yeah. It's the
Hmm.
lender that foreclosed on them. Yep.
Uh-huh.
They have to ask for it.
And then they ask if there's any surplus.
And there's it's again it's public information. Like they have to register that with the county that they're foreclosed on and say,
Uh-huh.
hey, here's the surplus for it.
The bank does.
Yeah.
Ah. So where does one go and look for that? Just in public records? In the county?
Here, I'll ask the
In which
yeah,
it
I know
foreclosed
there's
in?
where do I find the list of homeowners surplus funds? Um, County courts is the number one place. It look for foreclosure case records, excess proceeds or surplus funds, and the trustee reports and final judgments. You can find it
Interesting.
on the clerk court websites and civil case. What to
Okay.
look for: case number, property address, final sale amount versus judgment, surplus is held by the court.
Wow. Okay.
So do you think the court holds the surplus for the 2 years and then gives it to the bank?
Yeah, and then they'll release it. Yeah.
And do you think if you did one of those, searches for money that is owed to you that's out there, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that should show
unknown
up.
funds, would that show up to somebody who had a surplus on their foreclosed property
Should
as
show up.
money that's theirs?
Yeah, that should show up.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got off on a little tangent, didn't we?
Yeah. It's all good. That's what these are for in the mornings, like Um, so
Learning something new.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have so I appreciate. I'm glad I even mentioned that she was interested in this one. So, and she's not I call her a cash buyer because it's cash to the person who's receiving it. It's not cash to her. She's using uh, darn it, line of credit that she has against her stock portfolio, I believe, with Morgan Stanley. Um, so it's like cash. It's just not
Yeah. Yeah. And
not
again,
literally.
to me, she's still, I don't know what rate she's getting, but it's still probably more advantageous to leverage the money and not give the person all of that cash. And again, sometimes the homeowner might be $30,000 in the rears. They might have very little equity, and you just make a deal. Hey, I'll pay you in the rears. We're going to transfer the title into a trust. We're going to keep that loan in place because you're a great rate, and I'm going to let you walk away.
That's
So,
cool. I didn't know that if you put it in a trust, you could keep that rate. So
Yeah, how does that work? I mean, because the loan is still going to be in the original owner's name. I had somebody bring an offer on one of my properties. It wasn't foreclosure. He's just interested in the property and wanted to do one that was subject to, and everybody looked at it, said no.
if you do it the right way, it actually protects both the seller and the buyer. There's nothing illegal about putting the house into a trust. The due on sales clause isn't called because it's put into a trust. The buyer becomes the beneficiary of it with stipulations that they have to keep the loan current. And if they don't keep the loan current, even by 1 month, then they lose the interest of the trust. So they're no longer the beneficiary of the trust, and the property remains in the seller's name. So it's, and all the monies given are forfeited. So it's not advantageous for them to do so. And then for the buyer, the seller stays the beneficiary until the loan is paid in full or until it's refinanced or sold. Then the seller has no equity position inside the home.
so all you have to do is refinance it.
You
And
can yeah,
obviously,
you can
why would you want to if it's at a 3.75,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. And those are the times that you want to do the rate. I mean, I have one right now. I'm about to do it. The rate is actually 7.5%. But the person buying it doesn't want any more loans in their name. So I'm going to hold the note at 7.5%. They're going to basically buy out my equity, put the house into a trust. I can care not, because if they default on it, I get to keep their money that they gave me, and I'll just start paying the loan again. And they'll and we'll be there.
Okay.
It's a
Very,
lot.
very cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. And again, I think, these are the type, people always say, like, oh, I don't know what content to push and I don't know what to do. I think right here is just another like great thing. Hey, have any of you guys ever heard of surplus funds? Surplus funds is when a house gets foreclosed on. Let's say they owe 400,000, the house sells for 500,000 minus legal fees, repairs, and things of that nature. That surplus is still owed to the homeowner. A lot of people don't know about this. So if you guys know anyone that's going through foreclosure or it's been foreclosed on, please let them know about this. Real simple. And you're going to now, people are going to go, oh, I never knew that. It's going to look like, again, we want everything to empower through education, and that's our value. Our value can't be listed in a home and put in a sign in the yard. Our value can't be the MLS because it's going to be obsolete pretty soon. Our value can't be taking photos and pictures because now AI can do it. Like we need to be actually the educators.
Yeah.
All right.
And, real estate reels start to all sound the same unless you know something different, and can bring value, uh, to the broader
A couple,
group.
was it 3 months ago? I was doing a bunch of reels on, like, hey, the first time home buyer went from 29 to now 40 years old, and I was going through all the things. Now every single reel they're doing those, oh, first time home buyer, and they're showing all the years. I'm like, but now everybody's saying it, and it's like, okay, well, now it's not as powerful as it once was. But no one's talking about, like, why is that happening? How did we go from 2019 it was 33, and in 2024 it went up to 40? What happened in that time period? And we have to, like, it's not about being political, but it is talking about what policies made that happen. and how detriment this is to our society and to our generation, to future generations. Like when we go from 30 to 40 or 33 to 40 years old, that destroys generations to come. That's 7 years of appreciation that the next generation is not going to get. So it's even more important that grandma and mom help their kids and grandkids buy homes more now than ever before. If you want to change the financial future of your generations to come, go help them buy a home. Go help your 30-year-old son or grandson buy a home, or son buy a home. That will change his future, will change his kids' future, will change their kids' future. Just help them buy it. And there's so much equity in seniors' homes right now, like so much equity. So
Yes, and they're all going to die in their homes.
all of them, except that only 17% of Americans actually get to die in their home. So, you know,
Right, right.
it's showing them. But yeah. All right. I actually have to go get ready for a speaking event that I'm having today. I'm pretty excited about it.
Good for you.
Yeah, we're gonna go launch our senior planning division for the brokerage I joined, and I'm gonna go speak to
So
100
that I
agents.
saw that post. So is that just for a division under your brokerage that you're with? It's not
Yeah.
something that's nationwide
It's a nationwide brokerage, but yeah,
brokerage, but
it's for the brokerage themselves. And I keep saying, like, and I've had said it for a couple of years now, like I don't know how there's not a brokerage that just says I only help seniors and their families. But why there's not brokerages that they all have military, they have luxury, they have sports, they have, you know, KW has 12 different things. Like, why don't you have one that just focuses on helping seniors and their families? It doesn't make sense to me. So I shared my vision with the owners, and they jumped on board. And I mean, I'm not even 2, 3 weeks into the company, and we're already launching the division.
that's so
And
exciting.
so I'm really excited about it.
I'll be anxious to watch how it grows.
Yeah. So it'll be cool. But thank you guys for coming, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, happy
All right.
Easter.
Thank you,
Happy Easter.
Cory. Yeah.